Hey guys, so we're at the Manitoba Museum to check out the planetarium.
We are over our Winnipeg skies, a couple of hours after sunset, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a look for the Big Dipper, because that's the pattern of stars most people are familiar with. Now I'm going to give the audience a chance to participate. You guys can take a look around the sky. See if you can spot the Big Dipper on your own and tell me what directions you think it's in. You have until the jet begins again to find the Big Dipper. One big hint I'm going to give you is we're looking for something looks like a giant spoon out there, so we'll see if anyone can spot the giant spoon.
Dan from Jeopardy.
Did you find it?
I know where it is.
You know where it is?
Oh, yeah, I know everything.
All right, time is up. Can anyone see what direction or directions the Big Dipper's in? Yes, it is over in the northern direction. I'm going to trace it out here for those of you who are not able to find it. There we go. So there's the Big Dipper right there. Now, the Big Dipper isn't the official name of that constellation. It's actually part of a larger constellation, which is called Ursa Major. That means the Big Bear. So I'm going to add some more stars to the Big Dipper in an attempt to make a bear shape. What do you guys think? Does that look like a bear to you?
Boo.
I'm sensing the audience is skeptical, which they usually are. Typically, people in the audience tell me it doesn't look like a bear, but it looks like a dog or a horse or a giraffe or a dinosaur, but not a bear. I'm also willing to wager that for most of you, you're probably visualizing the head of the bear on the wrong side of the constellation. So think to yourselves, what side should the head of the bear be on? I'm going to turn on the picture, see if you're right or wrong. Here we go. Ooh.
That's a big deal.
So most people get this wrong, but it's not really your fault. It's because it's a weird looking bear.
I think that's a bear.
Take a look at the tail of the bear. Have you ever seen a bear with a tail that long?
No.
So most people say if this is a bear, and I know bears have short tails, that should be where the tail is, and that should be where the neck is, but for some strange reason, ancient Greeks visualized this as a bear, but a bear with a very long tail. So they actually imagine the bear looking the other way. Okay, well, once you locate the Big Dipper, if you look at the front two bowl stars, those are called the pointer stars, and if you draw an imaginary line connecting between those stars, keep going, it won't be a perfectly straight line, you have to curve a little bit. It'll point to a very special star in the sky, which is called Polaris. The reason Polaris is special, it's not because it's the brightest star out there, it's not that bright of a star, but it's special because of its location. It just happens by coincidence that the axis of the Earth's north pole happens to be aimed at that star. Because of that, as the Earth is spinning on its axis, that's the only star in the sky which will not appear to be moving. All the other stars will appear to rotate around it. Now, because it's the only fixed star, we can use it in navigation. It's also known as the North Star. If you're facing that star, you'll be facing exactly north. It's even more accurate than a compass. And as an extra bonus, it is part of the Little Dipper. It's the tail end of the Little Dipper. It's also called Ursa Minor, which means the little bear. Okay, next thing I look for is Cassiopeia. It's supposed to be a queen sitting on a throne. Doesn't look much like that. Looks more like a capital letter W made of other stars. But don't necessarily expect it to be right side up. Sometimes it's right side up, sometimes it's upside down, sometimes it's sideways. You can take any orientation in the sky as it rotates around the North Star. And usually if it's right side up, our audiences seem to find it no problem, but if it's in any of these, it's probably the most distinctive constellation you can find at this time of the year, which is the mighty constellation of Orion the Hunter. Now he has three bright stars, all in a nice, small, compact line, and Orion's the only constellation that has three stars that bright, that close together, so it's very distinctive, and that forms his belt. Above the belt, there's two bright stars marking his shoulders, and below the belt, two bright stars marking the bottom of his hips. And because his shoulders and his hips are wider than his belt, it'll make a very distinctive hourglass shape. Okay, another thing we find out there is Taurus the bull. So Taurus is another zodiac constellation. This bright star is Aldebaran, that marks the eye of Taurus, which will look red or orangey colored to the eye. And that marks the eye of Taurus. And then this V-shaped collection of stars is the head of Taurus. Now this is called the Pleiades, or the Seven Sisters star cluster, which marks the shoulder. Well, if you're out in a dark location, you can't really test your vision here because it's just simulation, but if you're out in a dark location, people with normal vision will see 6 dots. People with very good vision will see 7 dots. Well, let's just get a super duper close up of it.
Oh shit, fireworks.
And of course, if you aim binoculars or telescope, you get a lot more stars there. So it's a very beautiful cluster of stars. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to mention, since we are talking about the Pleiades, is that the moon is slowly getting closer to the Pleiades. So if we just advance time here, we're at the 24th, we're at the 25th, and then the 26th, and then at the 27th, the moon will be right beside the Pleiades. So that'll make a nice, cool little picture there. All right, so let's turn on the artwork to Taurus the bull. Well, there he is right there. Okay, and just for the fun of it, let's turn on all the artworks. You can see the entire sky filled with constellations. So these are all different animals and monsters and creatures and heroes and heroines and so on. All the various characters the ancient people visualized as they looked out into the sky. Now, these are the current constellations we can see now. They do change over time very slowly. So when you come to see Manitoba skies throughout the year, you'll actually see different constellations. What about planets? Are there any visible planets right now in our skies? Yes, there are. So the first thing you're going to notice is that star in the bowl, the Big Dipper, is a lot further back than those three. And That star in the handle is a lot further back than those three, so the Big Dipper probably looks a little bit different than what you might have imagined it would look like if you could move around it. Now there is a part of the Big Dipper that's almost like a two-dimensional pattern. These stars here are almost at the same distance away from the Earth. That's a little bit unusual. If you were to spin around, most of the constellations would be more random than that. But I want you to keep your eye on this star over here in the next few seconds. Right there. Take a look at how far back away that star is with respect to all the other stars in the Big Dipper. So remember, when you're looking at the nighttime sky, that space is three-dimensional. Okay, another interesting fact is that from the day you're born to the day you die, the constellation pictures you see won't change. Now, the stars are actually moving in space, and they're actually moving quite rapidly in space, but they're also incredibly far away, and because of that, we won't notice their motion in our short lifespan. Now, if you had a lifespan of thousands and thousands of years, then you would notice that motion. So what I'm going to do is, through the magic of the planetarium, is I'm going to advance time. So we're going to bring back our sky once again. I'm going to reset it. And now I'm going to move forward in time super fast to show you what's going to happen to me. Look what's happening to the Big Dipper. It's just getting all stretched out. And you'll also notice that stars are going from one end of the sky to the other. So this means that the human race lasts for a long period of time. Then we can, all the future humans will have to change all of our pictures that we memorize today, because all those pictures will be useless to them in the future, since everything will be all over the place. And of course, we can reverse time and put everything back the way we'd normally see it in our nighttime sky. All right, well, at this point, maybe we'll visit some of the planets. Planet Jupiter. So, Jupiter is so large you could fit 1,300 Earths inside of it. There it is right here. Now, Jupiter is classified as a gas giant planet. What does that mean? Usually when people tend to think about planets, they tend to think about planets like Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars, which are rocky planets, because they're mostly composed of rock. Now, the Earth has some liquid on it, has the oceans, but it's mostly made of rock. And Venus, Earth, and Mars do have atmospheres, so they have gas around them. But again, the amount of gas they have compared to the amount of rock is small. So that's why those worlds are classified as rocky worlds. Jupiter, on the other hand, is either 100% gas or it's 99% gas, made of a very tiny rocky core. Now, some people have asked me the question, well, if Jupiter is just made of gas, could I fly a spaceship right through it, like I could fly through a balloon or something like that? Well, it doesn't really work that way. If you were to take a spaceship, fly into Jupiter, at first when you enter the upper atmosphere, everything would be fine. It would be like entering the upper atmosphere. But as you went deeper and deeper into the layers of Jupiter, eventually the pressure would increase and you and your spaceship would just get crushed. Although Jupiter is just made of gas, you have to remember that there's so much gas in Jupiter that there's a lot of gravity there, and there's a lot of pressure. And as I said, eventually you and your spaceship would just get crushed. Now, Jupiter has over 80 moons going around it. Most of them are very small, but it does have 4 really, really big moons, which have been nicknamed the Galilean satellites, after Galileo first noticed them in a telescope. Now, if you look at Jupiter tonight in a telescope, you'll notice that there's going to be you'll see 4 little bright dots right beside Jupiter. At first glance, they might look like stars, but they're not stars. They're actually these moons, and these moons are so large you can actually see them in binoculars or a telescope as little dots. This moon here is called Ganymede. It's the largest moon in our solar system, and it's actually larger than the planet Mercury, so there are some moons larger than planets. Take a look at how cratered this world is here. This is the most heavily cratered body in our solar system, and it's a moon called Callisto. Now, here's a super cool moon, which is called Io. Io is the most volcanically active body in our solar system. And to give you some idea of how volcanically active it is, it's about the same size as our own moon, but every year, its volcanoes will produce 100 times more lava than all the volcanoes in the Earth combined. So very, very interesting. Now, as interesting as that world is, for astronomers, the one they're most interested in is actually this one here, which is a moon called Europa. And I'm going to show you some close-up pictures of Europa and tell you why astronomers are so excited about this particular moon. So when you're looking at the surface of the moon, you're going to notice, you're going to see a lot of cracks and ridges and grooves and so on. Europa has a very icy crust, and those lines are basically the cracks in that icy crust. This is a cutaway diagram, what we think it looks like if you could slice it open, see what it looks like on the inside. So it's got a very icy crust here, but underneath that icy crust there's an internal ocean of liquid water. And although Europa is much smaller than the planet Earth, it turns out that that internal ocean of water contains twice as much water as all the water on the Earth's oceans combined.